morning everyone, my name is Isabelle and today I'm taking over ITA's Instagram page and I'm just going to be showing you what it's like teaching English online from home today. So just a little about me. I'm 23 years old and I'm from New Jersey in the United States, which is where I'm currently teaching English online. I'm living at home to ride out the pandemic and I started teaching English online this past March. I work for two companies. I work for QKids and BlingABC. I'm getting ready to start teaching for the morning. I only have a couple classes this morning, but I'm going to go ahead in the next slide and drop a little questions box so you guys can ask me any questions you have about, QKids, BlingABC, teaching English online in general. Any questions you have, feel free to send me in the next box and I will start answering them after I teach this morning. Okay guys, so I just finished teaching for the day. One of the great things about online teaching is that you get all of your hours out of the way by usually 9 or 10 a.m., which is really great. So I'm seeing your questions coming in. I'm about to start answering those. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that I took ITA's online class it was the summer of 2018. So if you have any questions about that class, definitely feel free to send those to me. Okay, so first I want to give you just a little tour of my classroom. I set up this corner of my room when I started teaching in March, and I got this desk really cheap at IKEA. I think it was $30, and it's been really helpful. So yeah, this is where I teach. This is my backdrop that I made. That was really fun to make, and the kids really like it. When I teach for Bling, I have to put the Bling logo up right there where they can see it, and I just tape that on and then take it off, obviously, when I'm teaching with QKids. This is the headset that I use. I love it. It's great. Highly recommend. It's, I think, MPOW. And then I have some other props in my desk and then larger props down here like hand puppets and a whiteboard, etc. So yeah, this is my teaching space. So I chose QKids because I applied to a bunch of companies and they were the first one to hire me, honestly. I kind of was in a situation where I just needed to start making money and the hiring process for QKids was very fast and I can talk about that more later. And then after I started working with QKids, the hours were a little bit slow in the beginning, so I wanted to add a second company to kind of fill up those other hours, and that's when I started being more picky about where I was applying and where I was looking. So I chose Bling because I heard really good things about them online. I heard people were really happy teaching with them, and their pay scale was really attractive. And again, I'll go into their payment system later on, but they are known for having one of the higher base salaries in online teaching, and they also have really great bonuses. So that's kind of why I chose Bling. I went through application processes with VIPKid, QKids, Magic Years, I can't remember a lot, but so QKids was the first one to work out, and then Bling had the highest pay. So that's why I ended up choosing QKids and Bling. So yeah, one of the reasons that I chose both of these companies is because I just tell them my availability and then they assign me students. I never have to find my own students or get booked by parents or anything, which I really like. So yeah, in the beginning, it was definitely slow. Right when the pandemic hit is when I started. So a lot of people were starting to online teach. I do get full schedules now. For the most part, my availability that I have open does get filled every week, which is great. All of my students are located in China, and I haven't had much trouble the past few months getting any bookings or anything because my companies do fill my availability slots. So yeah. As you guys can see from what I just posted, the pay varies a lot. So it's really hard for me to tell you what I make per month because it's totally different every month just depending on what kind of bonuses I get and how many classes I teach. So my students are generally between the ages of 4 and 12. They've been as young as 3 before, but I'd say on average they're between 6 and 9 typically, so they're very sweet. Yeah, I was so nervous. I was really nervous to start, but it gets easy really, really fast. With my practicum with ITA, I was teaching adults in person, so teaching kids online was very new to me. So yes, very nervous, but the nerves went away quickly. My favorite part is getting to know the kids. The kids are so sweet, and a lot of them, they want to show you their toys and they want to tell you about, their days and stuff, and it's just very, very sweet. So I love working with the little kids. So I work 6 days a week. I work Monday through Saturday. I work in the mornings, generally from about 5:50 a.m. until about 9. I change my schedule sometimes, and then Friday and Saturday nights also from like 7 to 11. Nope, just a regular TEFL certificate. I did like the normal ITA online class, and I did the extra modules for young learners and teaching business professionals, but the young learners one has obviously come in really helpful. But nope, just the normal ITA class. So I'll get into the actual hiring processes for both companies after this, but with QKids, which was my first job, it took about 2 weeks from start to finish, and then Bling took a little bit longer. Okay, so the hiring process for QKids. I submitted a resume and prior teaching experience and my TEFL certificate, along with a video of myself reading like a children's book. And once I passed that initial screening, I did 2 demo interviews. And these were just showing off, basic teaching techniques, TPR, modeling, etc. And then after my second demo interview, I was invited to do trial classes. So these were teaching actual students, and I had never taught children online before. So I was definitely very nervous. I think I did a total of 4 trial classes. Sometimes they have you do 2, sometimes you do 5, it just depends. And I was offered a contract after my 4th trial class. So that was the process for QKids. So it's a different process with BlingABC. Bling takes a little bit longer. With QKids, it was like 2 weeks, but Bling took about a month. So you send in your resume, and they want to see some prior teaching experience, which your practicum with ITA is perfect for. And then you do about like a 30-minute interview, a Skype interview, explaining why you want to work for them. Some basic questions like that. And after that, there is an orientation where they test your technology, your laptop, your audio. And after that is a 2-hour training with other teachers, which is kind of fun. After you pass your training, you do a mock class, which is a full 40-minute class, but it's not with kids, it's to one of their staff members who's pretending to be like a 5-year-old child, and you get an A, B, C, or F, and your grade kind of, like, depending on what you get on your mock class, that will impact your prioritization for scheduling. If you don't like your grade, then you can redo it a second time. But as long as you get an A or a B, you can start scheduling classes. Yeah, so there's no lesson planning involved with either of these companies. You are given your lesson ahead of time and you can prepare. Bling expects you to prepare like props. They want you to use a lot of props that go with each lesson. So that's kind of the only prep that you really have to do. So actually with my my practicum with ITA, I taught once a week. It was a volunteer position once a week, a 2.5-hour class to beginning level adults at a nonprofit. So that was my only teaching experience prior to online, but I did that for a year. Bling is great because they have lots of different types of classes. You can teach phonics, you can teach preschool, world explorers. I think they have a new middle school program. So there's a lot of different types of classes, which is great. But you have to submit your availability at the beginning of each term, and it cannot change. There's no flexibility. Great question. So BlingABC has 4 terms, kind of like semesters per year, seasonally. So you submit your availability at the beginning of each term, and that's your availability for the entire term. So the 2 companies that I work for do require a degree, but there are plenty of companies that don't require a bachelor's degree to teach for them. So ITA has a really great article. I'll try to include it in this post. You can swipe up and find companies that don't require a bachelor's. I've heard great things about VIPKid, but it was the booking systems with QKids and BlingABC that made me choose them, because I don't have to go out and find my own bookings and build my own client base. I just get automatically assigned students, which I really like. So next year I'll hopefully be attending grad school, but I do hope to teach English abroad at some point, either online or in person. That's the great part about having a TEFL, is it gives you so much flexibility to, travel and find work really anywhere. So I do see that in my future. Okay, so I've finished reviewing for all my classes in the morning, and I'm going to go ahead and log out. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of your questions, but I'm going to leave my Instagram handle down below, and you guys can feel free to message me with any questions. Thank you. Bye.